Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Rich Perez welcoming you back into another weekly dose of the rundown. Of course, joined in as always, my co-host all the way from the U. Can I still say that, man?
I'm still in Miami, so I guess so.
All the way down in Miami, Kayson Davis. How you doing, Kay?
I'm doing great. How you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Doing pretty good. Can't complain. We got a lot of action going on. The playoffs are here. A lot of things going on. Check us out on the Mike McCoy show tomorrow, by the way. If you didn't check us out last week, we'll be back to recap all of this stuff that has gone on so far. But a lot of action going on in the postseason. We gave you guys a bunch of different predictions. And like my man likes to say, when the facts change, so does my opinion. So when we talk about some of these things today before the game starts tonight, my opinion might have changed on some things, but whatever.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, definitely check us out on Mike's show tomorrow. We'll be on there around like 12:20, Sirius XM channel 145. But yeah, definitely. It's only game one and game ones and game two right now. So my opinions might change later on, but for right now, I think I'm sticking to what I had before.
Well, let's run through this, man. We start in the East or the West.
Uh, let's go East.
Okay, so what do you want to go backwards, forwards? Start with the 1 seed, start with the 2 seed.
We can start from the top down. That's
Okay,
one.
so Philly and Washington, man. Why? You know what, man? Kayson had really said it a lot, but I agreed. Washington was going to be a tough out for anybody that played them, even though they ended up losing that first playing game to Boston. They really showed out against Indiana. It was never even close. And they made it tough for Philly. Philly's going to win this series, but Washington is going to go down swinging. And it might have been even tougher if Bradley Beal wasn't dealing with the injury that he's dealing with, but he's toughing it out for the team. So, I mean, yeah, like I don't know how much analysis I can put on this except like they made it really hard for them to play. Like Philly for Tobias Harris, that's what you do, man. That's what you gotta go out there and do. 28 points in the first half. You know, that's what they paid him the big bucks for. So that was really good to see. But I mean, their big three, which you would call their big three, they played well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like you said, the Wizards are going to be a tough out kind of for anybody. I think for everyone expects Philly to win. So the analysis kind of comes on the Washington side. What they can kind of do to kind of maybe get back into the series or change the series or even take it seven. I think Rui Hachimura has to play a little better. Obviously, it was his first playoff game. He kind of didn't know what to expect. But you just brought up Tobias Harris, and Rui's kind of the guy that you expect to stop Harris from doing those type of things. Like I said, obviously his first playoff game, different things like that. And Harris has been in the playoffs a couple of times. Some people think maybe he didn't show up last year as much, so he's maybe motivated. But I think they're going to need Rui Hachimura definitely in this series to give him another scorer. And then he has to be there on the defensive end, whether it's going to be on Ben Simmons or Tobias Harris. So he has to kind of stop one of those guys from going off. And to me right now, it'd have to be Tobias. So I think that's adjustment that they have to make. Like you said, they were able to stay in the game, which is pretty good. I expect maybe Westbrook to be a little better. He didn't. For him, he has to figure out, and it looks like he's getting a little frustrated of how he's going to get points in the playoffs when teams are packing the paint. Obviously, he had 12 assists, which is something, but we don't know how much of the rest of his team is going to be able to show up. So he has to maybe get back into that mid-range and hit some of those mid-range jump shots or find a way to attack. And then another thing is Embiid, obviously. They're sending double teams at him. He's hitting over double teams, making the right pass. So a lot of talk after that game was the way they double teamed. So I think making an adjustment on how they're going to double team him, whether they're going to go straight at him before or kind of attack him as soon as he puts the ball down. They have to figure out a way to kind of slow Embiid down a little bit, which is going to be maybe tough for anyone in this playoff. So the Wizards have a lot that they can improve on, but I think that was a good showing for them, especially with it being a lot of those young guys' first playoff game.
Yeah, for sure, man. I'm taking Philly in 5 in that one. I think Brad and Russ get you a game.
Yeah, I want to say 6. I want to say they can get you 2. maybe because with each, I feel like each one of them should be able to get you one game. So I'm gonna say 5 or 6. If Philly's kind of gonna play the way they played in the first game, it's probably definitely be 5. But I think in Washington, they just said that they're gonna have 50% capacity. I think maybe they can steal 1 or 2 there.
And it was packed in Philly too, man.
Yeah, definitely. I think it was a good showing for the Wizards. Obviously, a lot of people maybe didn't expect them to be that close into the game, and really they could have won that game. But you got to remember, Philly had a week off, so they were kind of maybe getting back into the flow of things. If Washington's gonna have to play a lot better than they played in that game just to stay in it. That was the one for me that they maybe could have been able to steal, and it seems like down the stretch that they kind of just didn't have it. But they had opportunities, so they're gonna have to play maybe 10 times better because Philly kind of maybe has a rhythm now. Last game they could have kind of caught them off guard and maybe stole the game, which would have been great for them.
Right on, right on. And now we get to it, what everybody was waiting for. The Atlanta Hawks and your New York Knicks. Atlanta Hawks took that one. That was a great game. Like no, all jokes aside, that was a great game. It was exciting to watch top to bottom. I was watching at a friend's house, all Knicks fans. They were getting crazy. And I mean, a lot of things to dissect. Julius Randle, who congratulations, just won Most Improved Player. Also, congratulations, Jordan Clarkson. He won Sixth Man of the Year yesterday, right?
Yeah.
So congratulations to those two. But we're bringing up Julius Randle with his Most Improved Player because we're talking about the Knicks. Julius Randle did not play well in that game. Not that he played like garbage, but he really did not play to what they needed him to be. And I mean, there was just. They couldn't contain Trae Young. They just really couldn't stop Trae Young from doing what he was doing. Nate McMillan definitely outcoached Tibbs in this game. And then the other thing, when the game is tied with a minute left, Tom Thibodeau decides to throw in Frank Ntilikina, who's known for his defense, very, very good defender, but he didn't play the entire game. You're asking this guy who, like I said, is a good defender. You're asking him when he's cold at the end of a game in a high pressure situation to contain Trae Young. And he's had a history of playing well against Trae Young on the defensive side of the ball. But in that situation, when he's coming in cold, you're asking a lot. And what ended up happening was Trae Young went up and scored. So this could be a series. I think that the Knicks are still going to be okay. But when we get into the next analysis with the Milwaukee and Miami, because it was kind of their game one was very similar to the Knicks in the Atlanta game one. You got to be on your P's and Q's. You got to be on your toes with this team. And anybody that really looked at this matchup, who really was coming in objectively, said that this was going to be a series. Atlanta wasn't going to be a pushover for the Knicks. And if you really watch these two teams, you knew that. I mean, Kay, you said it yourself, and I agreed that Trae Young didn't finish the second to last game that they played during the regular season. They didn't play the last game of the regular season. My other point was you're giving Nate McMillan a week to prepare for these guys and what he can throw at Julius Randle. So you got Julius Randle, who looked like he wasn't ready for the playoff time. And on top of him not being ready, Atlanta's throwing everything that they can to stop him.
If I'm not mistaken, was that his first playoff game?
That's his first ever playoff game.
Yeah, so he should be able to get his footing under him. I think when I tweeted out some keys to the series, and what I said was for the Knicks is going to be their defense. They had the number one defense in the league. And they're going to have to kind of keep that number one defense in the league up against the Hawks. Like you said, there's Trae Young, but you also got to worry about all the other shooters they have out there. Bogdanovich, I believe his name is. He had a big three.
He was hitting some big threes down the stretch, too.
He hit a big three in the corner. There's still Danilo Gallinari. Collins was hitting some threes. They got Hunter. They got a couple other pieces. So it's not just Trae Young out there. I like I said, I believe that the Knicks defense is going to have to be key. I think, like you said, Tibbs made a mistake kind of putting Frank Ntilikina out there. Like you said, Trae Young was kind of getting to the Knicks all game. So I feel like if you're going to make that defensive adjustment, maybe you make that earlier on in the game, whether it's early in the second half or whatever you're gonna do. Take him off the bench like that and tell him go out there and guard someone that's been running up and down the court the whole time. It's kind of a disadvantage to him, and you kind of seen it. He kind of blew Frank Ntilikina's doors right off and kind of got to the rim. So I think that was a mistake by Tibbs, but like I said, I think the Knicks will be all right. It was only one game. Obviously, the crowd was there, and they really needed the crowd and things like that, but. Like I said, the defense is going to have to carry them. So they've seen what adjustments they can make, and I expect Tibbs to be able to make the adjustments on those shooters. So they can't have all those shooters kill them and have kind of Trae Young killing them too. So they kind of maybe either stay home on all shooters and kind of maybe let Trae Young cook and do what he does. He'll get his numbers, but maybe everyone else doesn't play as well, and you maybe slow down the rest of the team. That can maybe be an option. But I think, like you said, they'll be all right. It was Julius Randle's first playoff game. He's getting his feet wet a little bit, so I think he'll be better in the next game. So it'll be all right. It's just going to be interesting now. Can the Knicks go into Atlanta and steal a game? Because they're going to have to.
Yeah, they just lost home court advantage with that loss. Like I said, I think from just even with the way the game one went, I think they would be fine. But let's talk about it. We also thought the same thing with Miami and Milwaukee, because Miami was right on their heels the whole game. Jimmy got denied for the game winner, but their situation was their game one situation was a lot similar to what we saw with the Knicks game one situation, and their game two situation, what we just saw yesterday, was never close. They were down by 20 when the first, or a little over 20 points when the first quarter was already over. So that's my worry with the Knicks. But like I said, you can't, not like I said, but you can't really compare those two situations without seeing the actual game for the Knicks, which will be coming up here soon. But let's focus in on this Miami Heat thing, man.
Wait. To your last point, I think it'll be a little different for the Knicks because they're home. If you think about it, first of all, that the Bucks too getting that win, because Miami has owned the Bucks in the last year and a half. So I think the Bucks getting that game one win maybe gave them a little confidence to show that they can maybe beat the Heat. And I was talking to you during the game where it was like, it still looked like Miami still kind of owned them at the beginning of that Bucks game, the game one. So I think them getting that confidence to get in that first win, like, okay, these guys are beatable. And I think being at home, some of the shooters settled down. Brent Forbes hit like 5 threes, 4 threes, 6 threes in the first half. So that's just being at home. So I think the Knicks being at home may make their situation a little different, where it's like maybe some of their shooters start hitting. You know how role players kind of play better at home. So the Knicks may be in a little different situation.
That's definitely true. That Knicks crowd really came to show out and show support. Like, they were loud. It was exactly what anybody who's been to a Knicks playoff game has said. They really go out there and they show out for their team. Like, any of the videos anybody got a chance to see during that playoff game, they were loud. So that, yeah, I could agree that's definitely something that's working in their favor. But also, again, this was Trae Young. We talked about Julius Randle not being able to rise to the occasion in his first playoff game. This is Trae Young's playoff debut as well, and he had a little Reggie Miller to him. You know, the Knicks fans was going at him. He was saying after the game he heard it all, and it amped him up to go out there and get the win for him. So on that front too, you know, having a guy like Trae Young, that they're gonna be in it even with the Knicks being at home.
Yeah, but I don't expect the Knicks to kind of get blown now. I think they'll still be in it. Like I said, I think the Knicks are going to have to obviously rely on their defense, but decide what they want to do. They can't have all those shooters going off like that. So you kind of have to decide, do you stay home on all the shooters and maybe let Trae have all that space in the paint? Or do you maybe focus in on Trae and I guess maybe hope some of the shooters miss? But it's going to be interesting to see what Tibbs decides to do going forward. But like I said, they had the number one defense in the league. They got to figure something out. And Julius Randle can't have another bad game like that. And I expect him to play better. So I think all in all, a lot of things can get better for the Knicks.
Yeah, and I believe that it will. Like I said, I think the series is going 6 or 7. I still think it's going to go 7, but they should be all right. We'll definitely wait and see. I expect a lot more things. Get into this Miami series though. We talked about that game 1 and how it was close, and you mentioned in that looked like Miami still owned Milwaukee a little bit. Game 2 was never close. Bam Adebayo was very reluctant to shoot the ball. They didn't even guard him from 15 feet. He just looked like a shell of himself this series, period. You expect the other guys to, like Duncan Robinson had a good game one, not so much afterwards. Jimmy Butler's going out there doing what he does, but really just not getting a lot of help from other guys there. What would you take away from that game too? Obviously, you said the confidence was there for Milwaukee, but anything on Miami's end?
Miami, to me, is I tweet this about a key for series for them is can they get their rhythm back? I still see a team that, and I think this needs to be talked about. If you think about it, the Lakers and the Heat both dealt with injuries this year, and maybe kind of up and down years, and neither one of them have home court advantages. And those are the two teams that were in the NBA Finals last year. So maybe this short turnaround has been an issue for both teams. So I think that's something that's there. But like I was about to say, I think it's their rhythm. It's been an up and down season. They were playing well, kind of going into the playoffs, but I think they just don't look like the team that they were last year. And I think that's kind of what it's been all year now. Obviously, it's playoff time, and you're like, we get it together. We're going to play well come playoff time. But sometimes you can't just turn that switch on. So I don't know what adjustments exactly they would have to make right now. But for me, they just seem like a team that just doesn't have the rhythm. They don't have the same, I don't want to say focus that they had last year, but they just don't look like the same team. And they're kind of the same team, a couple minor tweaks. But I think just maybe the quick turnaround has kind of got to them. And LeBron has said this in an interview I seen, like it seems like they went from one playoffs to another playoffs that fast. So I think maybe the Heat are not going to be able to kind of catch their rhythm and get going. If they can catch that rhythm and get going, they'll be fine. They might be able to steal the series, but I just think that right now they just, even if you think about their whole season, they just haven't looked like the same team, and I think it might be because of that quick turnaround.
Yeah, it's kind of hard for me to say that they'll be able to steal the series being down 2-0. I mean, they have to they got to do their thing in Miami. They have to win both games, obviously. At this point, with the way, especially with how Milwaukee looked in game two, and Spoelstra's a great coach. They got just a great organization, period, down there. But am I confident in saying that they're going to sweep in Miami? I don't know. I don't know, which is, again, when the facts change, so does my opinion. I'd pick Miami to pull an upset here. Now I'm not feeling as confident moving forward. I feel like this ends in 6 in Milwaukee's favor because I think Miami will win one at home and keep their hopes alive by winning a closeout game in Milwaukee.
It's just, to me, we don't know what Heat team we might get. We might get that same Heat team from last year or the same Heat team that ended the season well. But like I said earlier, they now have given the Bucks confidence. I think in that first game, the Bucks still wasn't 100% sure, can we beat these guys? And the Heat didn't play their best game. They obviously didn't play their best game in game 2. But in game 1, they were still in it. It went to overtime, I think. And like I said, while I was watching it still looked like, okay, the Heat may still have their number. I think the Bucks do have some confidence now. But getting back to Miami may be exactly what these guys need. A little home cooking, a little home court advantage, hearing that crowd. And they may be able to get this thing rolling again. Because like I said, if they can get it rolling, I think they'll be fine. Whether they can push it 7 or win the series, I think they need to get it going, and they'll be all right. It's just the season's been up and down. We don't know if they can get it going. But if they can get home, steal a game, get their confidence back, steal another game, get their confidence back, I think it's anybody's game 5. But we got to see kind of, like I said, we don't know what's been going on with them. And I don't know kind of Jimmy Butler has been a little passive. He had not really hitting his shots in that last game, but I don't know exactly what changes they have to make at the moment. But I just think they need to kind of maybe regroup and get themselves together. Like I said, maybe going home, the crowd, the energy is what they need. And once they get it rolling, I think there'll be a problem again.
Yeah, for sure. You're headed down there, right? That game was game 3 or game 4?
I'll be at game 3. I'll be at game 3
All right,
on
so
Thursday.
coming up here, man. Yeah, let's go. Let's go. You gotta get that support from Kayson, man.
So the crowd could be going crazy. They're down 2-0. That means what they, like I'm saying, that's what they need, and they might get it rolling. Once they get it rolling, I think they're a problem again. It's just right now that it doesn't look like the same team.
Little rundown sideline reporting going on Thursday, man. Look out for it.
Definitely.
Brooklyn and Boston, they're playing tonight. Brooklyn didn't really look that good the first half to me, you know. But then that second half came around and they turned up. Then maybe that second half was a statement. You know, there's a lot of different ways to take it, but that second half could have been looked at as a statement. As you know, we could turn this thing on whenever we want to. We're just playing around. They even showed some defensive prowess in that second half too, man. I think with Jason Tatum and they're gonna go back to TD Garden. I feel like Boston is gonna get a game, but this to me ends in 5, and Brooklyn should be looked at even as the 2 seed. Should be looked at as a force if you're not looking at them as a force.
Yeah, definitely. I like you said, I think it probably ends in 5. I think Tatum will go off and get them a game back in Boston, but I think things just haven't been going right for Boston all year, and I think as you've seen in that second half, when the big three is rolling, they're kind of hard to deal with. I don't think Kemba's gonna have to have a great game too to kind of keep up with those guys. When I tweeted some keys for this series, I said Kemba Walker is gonna have to outplay Kyrie, and then Marcus Smart is gonna have to kind of slow down James Harden on defense. If those two guys can't do that, then it would be a kind of a quick series. And Jason Tatum. At one point he was scoreless for a little bit in that second half after having a great first half. He can't have that because they definitely need his scoring. So it's going to be a long shot for Boston, but I kind of agree with you. I think it'll be over in kind of 5, maybe 4. I think once that big three gets rolling, it's kind of over from there. There's nothing that Boston's going to be able to do. So Kemba's going to have to show up, outplay Kyrie. Marcus Smart has to slow down Harden as much as he can, and then Jason Tatum's going to have to try to match KD on the offensive end, and I think that would give Boston a chance. But besides that, when the big three is clicking, there's nothing that they're going to be able to do.
Playoff basketball in New York, man. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. I mean, we really got playoff basketball in New York. There's 2 New York teams in the playoffs. It's great. So, see here, somebody asked, did we talk about Memphis yet? No, we didn't. We're about to get into it now. Utah and Memphis. Memphis takes that game 1 to go 1-0. A little bit of a statement there. Dylan Brooks been doing his thing. Ja put the Golden State Warriors away, man. I love what Memphis got going over there. And I mean, I didn't pick them to go into the playoffs. I said Golden State gets the 8 seed and upsets Utah. They don't. Memphis is going to make this tough. I never really believed in Utah as a 1 seed. Obviously, Donovan Mitchell didn't play that first game. He's going to make a difference. I could see Memphis getting the upset here, though.
I cannot see Memphis getting the upset. Big shout out to Memphis, though. I'm happy that they got in because last year they was maybe supposed to be in, but Portland was able to knock them out in the play-in game. But they played well. I thought they played well enough these last 2 years to get in, so I'm happy to see them get in. I didn't expect them to knock off the Warriors either. But I do not see them being able to knock off the Jazz. Obviously, I'm not 100% confident in the Jazz being that 1 seed either, but Memphis has played well, but that Donovan Mitchell coming back is going to make a huge change in the series. Now, still in this game 1, I think Memphis will be able to push it maybe 6 or 7, which I probably wouldn't have picked earlier on. But I think once Donovan Mitchell comes back, they're gonna. I expect Memphis maybe to get blown out in this next game. If they don't, I'd be a little surprised. I think with Donovan Mitchell back and the crowd going crazy, and them really needing that second game, I think Donovan Mitchell's kind of gonna go off and it'll be a blowout. I think the games in Memphis will be a lot closer. I probably expect them to split because it'd be crazy in Memphis too. They haven't been in the playoffs in a little while. But after that, I feel like the Jazz, once Donovan Mitchell gets his footing back going and things like that, I think they'll take the last 2 games.
But so Donovan Mitchell. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I'm gonna pick the Jazz in 6.
Okay. I really don't know who to pick, to be honest with you. Even I said I could see the upset, but I really don't know who to pick. Memphis already showed that they already had to deal with the Utah Jazz crowd, and it didn't really faze them much.
I think it's gonna be different when Donovan Mitchell's going off, dunking on people and things like that. Donovan Mitchell changes a lot for them. I think Memphis is gonna have to try to do more of the same that they did in Game 1. They need Valanciunas to play really well and try to get Rudy Gobert to foul out. Once he gets him to foul out, that opens up so much for Ja in the paint because with Rudy out there kind of clogging the paint, it's gonna be hard for him to get in and do the crazy acrobatic layups that he kind of does in there. So I think even with Donovan coming back, if they can get Rudy Gobert kind of fouled out and off the court, that'll make a difference. And then we've seen how good Brooks played defense on Stephen Curry. Could he keep up that same kind of defensive intensity with Donovan Mitchell throughout the series? Those are going to be the two. Those would be the two big things for Memphis. They can do that. I can see him still in the series.
I think he can. Like they just got a good team put together over there. You know how I feel about that duo and Jaren Jackson and Ja Morant, and then you throw Dylan Brooks into the mix as well. It's a nice group that they got together over there. The coaching's very well. Still, I'm not ready to pick who's gonna win it yet, but this could be a series. I really believe that this could be a series. I just never really believed in Utah like that, and they were gonna be in a tough matchup regardless. You talk about Donovan Mitchell trying to get his footing under him. He's been out for a while. That's going to be a key factor. We saw it last year in Houston when they had to play the Lakers after Russ got in there. Russ just couldn't really find his rhythm in that series, and it helped the Lakers out a lot. So that's something that I'm definitely going to be looking out with Donovan Mitchell and the Utah Jazz as well.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, he's going to have to get his footing back. But I think the first game is not going to be an issue. Usually people come back with energy. The crowd's going to be going crazy. That's why I kind of expect it to be a blowout. As the series goes on and you're playing on the ankle a little more, it may be an issue. But I think Westbrook's injury was a little more serious. He had a quad. This is just an ankle sprain. So ankle sprains don't seem to be as serious sometimes. So I think they'll be all right. Like I said, those are the two things I think Memphis would have to be able to do. Get Gobert off the floor to kind of open up the paint for those guys. And then the defense on Donovan Mitchell, especially with him coming off an injury, if Brooks can make it real tough for him, I think that may be an issue, especially like you said, if he doesn't come back 100%. But he said there's some issues with him in Utah right now because he wanted to play last game, obviously as a competitor. But if he's trying to run himself back and not 100%, it could be an issue. Also, Jaren Jackson has to stay out of foul trouble because he was in a lot of foul trouble in that game. So that's another thing for Memphis.
Let's move on here. Another game going on tonight: the Dallas Mavericks and the Los Angeles Clippers. No respect for the Clippers. When they say who we gonna put on prime time, the Lakers or the Clippers, they go with the Lakers. So the Clippers will be playing at 10:30 tonight on NBA TV if you have it. If not, you can watch the Lakers play on TNT. Whatever you want to do, whatever floats your boat, whatever, it's not up to me. Dallas steals game one. I mean, you didn't have any faith in Dallas, really. I think you said Clippers would take this in 5, right?
Yeah, I think I expected PG to show up this series, so I thought if he showed up,
let me look at
really
PG
well.
stats. PG stats here.
I tweeted out some key matchups.
8 of 18 from the field, 2 of 8 from 3. Great free throw percentage. -6.
I expected him to play well. If he played well, I thought this would be a rematch that he's been waiting for. He talked about how he's coming for people's neck. I thought that this is what he'll be waiting for. He'll kind of go off and help them steal it in 4 or 5. Now, I did tweet out some keys for this series too. It's gonna be whose co-star is gonna step up. Is it gonna be Porzingis or is it gonna be PG? I think whichever.
Well, neither of them. It was neither of them.
Yeah, but Luka went off. So I think that's that.
31, 10, and 11. I'm sorry I keep cutting you off. This is just the one.
Luka went off, and I think someone else played well. I think
Tim Hardaway had 21, 4 and 1.
Yeah. That's what Memphis is kind of not Memphis. Dallas is kind of gonna need. They're gonna need a second star. I expect it to be Porzingis, but someone has to step up. Even if you watch the series and remember series from last year, scoring has never been the problem for Memphis. It's just defense. Dallas. I don't know why I keep saying Memphis. Dallas. Scoring has never been the problem for Dallas. This year, I think last year they might have had the number 1 offense. Scoring is not the problem for them. It's got to be defense. But if Lou Will's not there no more, so that's one less person to worry about on the offensive end. Obviously, Rondo's there, but he's more setting up people like PG. So if PG's not scoring, it kind of helps Dallas out a little bit. That's why I said PG he'll make the difference. If he can go off, they can probably still steal this in 5, maybe 6.
The Clippers need more from the other guys on the team. Even what Paul George didn't have a terrible game. But just for what Paul George is, what you expect, you want more. But they need more from the other guys. Markieff Morris only had 4 points. You didn't. It's not why they traded and re-signed Markieff Morris. You want more. You want more from Marcus Morris. I'm sorry for getting those two confused. You want more from Marcus Morris there. Zubac, another one. You definitely want more for him there. I've never really. I love Patrick Beverley as a player. Don't really agree with him being a starter, but It's another one for another day. Batum played good for what you expect. Same with Rondo. He kind of was what he was. Reggie Jackson, 2 points. You know what I mean? Serge Ibaka, 8 points. Like those are guys that you need to. Not saying those guys got to go out and score 20, 30, but you need a little more from those guys. You know what I mean? And that definitely was a failing point for the Clippers there. I've heard some people kind of go at Ty Lue's neck a little bit as far as him as a coach. Don't really agree with some of the points I've been hearing because I still think highly of Ty Lue. But let's be real. Some of the rotations that he's put together since his time in Cleveland have been a little questionable. We've seen that here. So I want to see how he can bounce back in this series.
Yeah, definitely. I think what's been most disappointing for the Clippers this year so far, and maybe even last year, is their defense. If you think about it, with PG, Patrick Beverley, Kawhi Leonard, now you add Serge Ibaka, you expect them. You don't expect, obviously, you're not going to stop Luka, but like, you don't expect Luka to get those type of numbers like that. Obviously, between those three guys being on him, it should be a tough night for Luka. Obviously, like I said, you're not going to stop him. You're still going to get his numbers and things like that. But Luka, even last year, they haven't made it too tough for him. He's been able to go out there and kind of look real comfortable. I think if there's one thing, forget the offense, forget the defense. I mean, forget the offense and people not making shots. You'll figure that kind of stuff out. But defensively, they can't let Luka kind of go off like that. And if they are, it's kind of like the same thing I was saying with Trae Young. Tim Hardaway Jr. can't get you 25. Vinny Smith can't be going off and hitting threes. You're going to have to either let Luka do him and slow everyone else down, or you're going to have to shut down Luka, which might be the better option here because he's kind of their whole offense. So if he has PG on him, Kawhi on him, or Patrick Beverley on him all day, and they're the defenders that they're supposed to be, it should be a tough night for him and the rest of their offense because he just does so much for them.
Yeah, I think we need to see a lot more from the Clippers, man.
Definitely,
there was a lot of minuses in the box score there. You know what, man? I think that they'll get it together tonight. I still think it's going to be a tough game for them. They got to win. Obviously, it's you got to win this game, especially they got home court advantage. But I expect a bounce back here for the Clippers and your man Paul George, definitely, because he is not helping you out with the narrative that you're trying to dismiss about him in the playoffs.
Yeah, definitely. I think I expect them to bounce back tonight. I don't know how it's going to fare for them when they switch over to Dallas. Like I said, I need to see a change on the defensive end. Even if not playing as great defense gets them out of this series, it's going to be tough for them to win a championship like this, not playing defense. And definitely people around the league not being scared of those guys no more. Because they're going to, if the Lakers make it there and they got a matchup with the Lakers, they got to guard Bron. Devin Booker's out there with the Suns. We're going to get into that series. Dame and them are kind of out there. So there's some people they have to shut down. If they can't shut down Luka, it may only get tough from here going forward. So to me, they have to make some changes defensively. I need maybe Kawhi or PG to step up. And it's like the same thing I said last year with PG. If you don't have it going offensively, you have to be guarding Luka the whole series and making it tough for him. You can't just be bad offensively and not really giving us nothing defensively. It got to be one or the other. Make up for it on the defensive end. Make it tough for Luka and worry about the offense maybe a little later.
Right on. We got Portland, Denver. That series is tied up 1-1 after last night. Wasn't even like Dame played it. Dame had shot made 8 threes before the first half was over, right?
Yeah, he had 8 threes at halftime.
So Portland goes out and they pretty much blow out the Nuggets game 1. We both picked Portland to win this series, but Denver comes right back, 128-109. I mean, Portland. It's interesting too because that now begs the question: what would Denver be if Jamal Murray was playing with what they were able to do last night? But with Denver, they kind of Nicole. What you've brought up a lot of times, and we talked about this series, was Jokic kind of being X'd out the game by Portland because he really couldn't mess with the pick and roll that Dame and CJ were putting together on him. Last night, he goes out, he puts up 38, 8, and 5. He really didn't have much of a problem. But, I mean, He was the key. He was the key because like, Damian Lillard put up 42, CJ McCollum 21, uh, Powell 15. You got, but Carmelo is supposed to be a guy that was a big piece for them. He didn't really play well last night.
He played well game one.
Yeah, but really, I want to say even with Dame going off and CJ playing well, and Powell putting up 15, they didn't really have any help outside of that. Everybody else was single digit scores in this game.
Yeah, I think in this series, I feel like Portland should have the advantage. But in this series, that's kind of maybe what's going to come down to. It's going to come down to which role players played better. Obviously, last night, Denver's role players played better. If you look at it in game one, Melo went off, and the the Blazers role players played better. That's kind of what it's going to come down to. And also for Portland, they have to make Jokic work on the defensive end. Obviously, you've seen in the first half in that pick and roll how Dame was kind of able to come off those pick and rolls with ease and shoot up from deep. They're going to have to make him work a little more in the pick and roll because he has to carry them so much offensively right now. So if you got him working on the offensive defensive end, as the series goes on, you think you'll probably wear him down. But obviously Michael Porter Jr. is coming into his own now. But most of the offense is kind of going through the Joker. So that's what I think Portland would have to do. But I still think Denver's in trouble. Last night, like I said, their role players played really well. But now those role players have to go on the road and play really well. And that's kind of where role players don't play as well. And then the Blazers role players are going to be at home, and that's where role players usually play better. So I feel like even though the Nuggets got the game last night and they kind of controlled the game for most of the game, I still think Denver's in trouble, and Portland has the upper hand going back home. And I think they might take both of these games at home.
Both? All right. But they're definitely in trouble if they take both.
Because I don't know. I don't think I can see Denver's role players stepping up that much. They really have to step up and give the Joker some help on the road. Michael Porter Jr. is going to be his first playoffs. Actually, he kind of played last year, so it's got to come down to really Michael Porter Jr. and the rest of those guys how well they can play. But I think, like I said, the Blazers role players are going to be at home. I feel like they're going to be hitting shots and different things like that. So not unless the Joker goes off for like 50, 13, and like 10. I feel like the Blazers have the upper hand, but I've been wrong before in the past. But I feel like the Nuggets have the upper hand going forward. I mean the Blazers.
This is another one. This is another one where I'm a little too scared to pick out right. Well, let me not say that because I'm picking Portland to win the series. But as far as like them sweeping, I'm a little too scared to call that. But I'm kind of on par with what you're saying. And I just agree with what you're saying. I really don't have much to add to that.
The Nuggets role players played really well last night. I can't see them doing that again on the road. If they do, then I feel like Denver obviously has a chance to win the series. But I think it'll be more so like game one. So in Portland. So after that, those two, they be down 3-1. Denver maybe comes home, wins game 5. Portland ends it in 6 back at home. But if Portland gets those two at home, over, I can see them ending it in Denver. So I just think like the Blazers at the end of the day have way more firepower than the Nuggets do right now. So at home, those role players played really well last night. They were down against the ropes, but all that firepower may come out in Portland.
Yeah. Let's get over to this Lakers-Phoenix game that was while Phoenix was in control the entire game, even with the Lakers trying to mount comebacks, never really came close. Man, did Phoenix look good. At one point, you thought Chris Paul wasn't going to return. He came back to return. For the Lakers, man, LeBron James and Anthony Davis do not play well at all. 18 for LeBron, 13 for Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis goes out there and gets outplayed by DeAndre Ayton. Devin Schroeder has 14. Andre Drummond puts up 12 in 19 minutes. Caruso 10. Montrez 12. Not much help outside of that. It was just the Lakers were not ready. Were not ready for what Phoenix was giving them. I mean, I don't expect Anthony Davis and LeBron James to play like that. I expect a lot more from them in the rest of this series. That was just a really bad showing.
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of more like the Heat situation, like I was saying. It's been kind of up and down season for them, dealt with a lot of injuries. For the Lakers, it's going to be are those guys really healthy and can they play well? And also, I'm not as worried about the Lakers. I think they'll steal the game tonight in game two. Last year, if you remember, they lost a lot of game ones. They made some adjustments. Now, last year, those guards played really good defense. If you remember, they were able to slow down Westbrook and Harden a little bit. They were able to slow down Dame and CJ a little bit. They were able to slow down Jamal Murray, who's having a great playoff series at that time. So they really won last year's playoffs based on how well they were able to guard guards out there. So a little different people up top now for them. So they have to get back. They're kind of in the same situation, down 1-0, and they have to figure out how to guard these two guards. Devin Booker, it was his first playoff series, and everyone was kind of figuring out how well he was going to play and what he was going to do. He came out and showed the world that he's here, and he was the best player on the court at the time. Now, obviously, he's not better than LeBron, but just for that one game with all those stars out there, he was the best player, and they're going to need him and DeAndre Ayton to play as well. You know, my issue with the Suns all season was they were young. A lot of those players haven't been in this situation. But if those young players are going to play like this and kind of show me that even though we haven't been here, we're willing to step up to the moment, I can see the Suns taking this series. But I think the Suns should be ready. It was game one. The crowd was rocking and different things like this. You know, some people say that the series doesn't start until game two. So now it's game two, and we're going to see kind of if the Lakers can make some of the same adjustments that they made last year to slow those guards down. If they can do that, then I think they're right back in the series. But health is still going to be an issue because Brian was back. He started off kind of hot, but we don't know how healthy those two guys are.
Yeah, that's definitely the big question there. And boy, did Devin Booker show up. Chris Paul, well, I mean, he affected the game in so many other ways, but it wasn't like he had a crazy scoring night. He only put up 7. Even Jay Crowder only 8. But I mean, these three young players though, because Phoenix really has put together a nice team. Devin Booker, Mikal Bridges, and DeAndre Ayton. 34. I'm listing off the points of each: 34, 10, and 21. 16 rebounds for DeAndre Ayton. Those guys really did their thing in that game. I'm looking, number one, I'm looking forward to seeing what the Phoenix Suns can continue to do in the future. But what they're going to do in this series, especially with Chris Paul, we know Chris Paul is going to be playing hampered now because I really don't even know what's wrong with. They said it was his shoulder. He was holding his elbow like when it happened, but I guess they said it was his shoulder.
In this area right here, so it's like shoulder neck kind of area.
Right. I mean, I'm expecting more from him, even if he's not going to be playing at 100%. But man, Devin Booker's already writing a great story with what he was able to do that game. He's only going to do more. What did I say the series was going to end in?
I'm not sure. This is like I don't know about this series. I said Suns in 7 because on Mike's show I picked the Phoenix to play the Clippers in the conference finals, but it could go either way. I don't know about this series. I really don't.
I don't see LeBron going out in the first round.
Me either. But
and this is gonna be because you know what? I never really liked even when they won it last year. I never really liked the team that they put together. I just thought that they had something great in LeBron James and Anthony Davis, and then of course you had Rajon Rondo, who I still think they should have kept. But Andre Drummond's a player too, but overall, I never really liked the Lakers team. Like, I feel like that, especially with the point you were getting to with them in Miami and the quick turnaround, like, I feel like that along with just not a great, am I wrong for that? I really don't think that they have a great team put together. They just have some really great players on this team.
No, even last year when the team was put together, a lot of people thought it was maybe some random pieces that were thrown together after Kawhi kind of left. I think last year's team just had great chemistry and maybe they enjoyed really playing with each other and they played well. This is not the same team. Like I said, they switched kind of their guards up a little bit and different things like that. So they won a championship together, kind of switched a lot of their role players and things like that. So it's a new team that's still that doesn't seem like they have that same whatever it is that last year's team had. So if we thought last year's team before the playoffs, well, I mean before that season started, that they were just pieces thrown together that ended up working out, this team kind of seems like they threw all those pieces out and then put new random pieces in, and these are just not fitting as well as the other ones.
Yeah, I just can't. I can't see him.
I think tonight is going to be real telling. It's also like the series, like we said, the facts change. So does my opinion. We got to put it on a T-shirt. CP being injured, we're going to see tonight, if CP can't be 100%, LeBron got lucky again because there's no way the Suns are winning this series. I don't care how well those young guys play without CP, especially because I expect them to lose tonight's game and the Lakers to win. They're going to need CP to come big on the road. We've seen CP win a game in LA before against the Lakers. We've seen CP win a game in Golden State. We've seen CP be able to come up big in some of these road games. We've seen him go to OKC when those Thunder teams were hot and win a game out there. So they're going to need him to steal a game in LA, which I feel like they're going to have to do because I feel like the Lakers are going to respond pretty well tonight.
Right. I agree. That's definitely what it is, man. We made some good time on this one. I hope you guys enjoyed the pregame. Like, 'cause I definitely did.
If CP's hurt, I'm taking the Lakers in 6, maybe 5.
Let's run through the games tonight. We got 3 games tonight. So starting off in 10 minutes, the Brooklyn Nets and the Boston Celtics on TNT. I got Brooklyn going up 2-0 tonight.
Me too. I think the big three are going to come out and play a lot better. I think Brooklyn will probably take about like 10, 15 points. I think I was gonna say I think they figure something out in that second half. Like I said, with them, it's gonna be about chemistry because they haven't played a lot of games together. They figure something out in that second half. Whether it's one of them going off or all of them playing really well, I think they'll get this by like 10 to 15.
Right. You just made the pick of the Lakers tonight. You know, beating the Suns. I'm with you on that one. I got them tying this thing up 1-1. It's just I expect LeBron and AD to come out with some fire, play a lot better than they played that game 1. Then NBA TV, the Clippers and the Mavericks. Gonna take a 1-1 here.
The Clippers need this win more. I don't know if they'll get the win, but the Clippers definitely need it. I'm gonna go out on a limb again, and this will be the last time I do it if he doesn't show up. PG is going to have a good game tonight. The Clippers, I still feel like it will be a close game, but I feel like the Clippers are getting it. I feel like Rondo's going to play really well tonight, too. So between PG, Rondo, and Kawhi, I feel like the Clippers will get it maybe over 5 points after a couple free throws and stuff. I think it'll be a close game still.
Yeah, I agree. So Brooklyn, Lakers, Clippers. That's the picks on the rundown tonight, man. How you going to be watching it?
I'll be watching it on the TNT app off my Xbox.
That's what's up, man. Yeah, I'm gonna be on the Chromecast, doing some homework, some late night homework, games on the Chromecast, a little packing going on. It's gonna be a grand old night, grand old time.
I'll be at the crib. I think that Lakers game is the one to watch out for, man. That's gonna be the game of the night.
Yeah, unfortunately, I won't be catching much of the Clippers game. I'll try and tune in as much as possible, but I'll be glued in on TNT tonight.
Definitely. I may put it on my iPad. I'll definitely keep up with the score.
I'm going to bring my iPad. Thank you, Kayson.
You're welcome. Are you All right, you're welcome.
Well, thank you guys for tuning in again, man. I know this was a little short notice and whatnot, but
a little earlier than expected.
We can't compete with the NBA.
Not with the playoffs, so we figured we had to move it up a little bit.
Yeah. Next week's show will be a little different. I got some things going on, so I won't be around for next week's show. But we might still be here. With Kayson might still be here. Might have some new guests on and whatnot.
Yes, definitely. Well, shout out to you and your move and what you got going on over there. But yes, I am thinking of some guests that I can bring on. Some of you guys are more than welcome to come on, so you guys can maybe DM us or something. But I'm gonna come out with something
Get
for
a
next
call
week.
in.
Yeah, or you can video chat in. I can add you in on the video chat, and we'll figure some stuff out. I
Just
really
keep it
want.
respectful, please.
Yeah. You got to keep it professional over here. I really want to talk to some Knicks fans, so I might have Hodge. I know y'all seen Hodge and Shot in here last week. I might have them come up in about a week. That series would be close to ending, or maybe ended, depending on how it goes. So we'll either get their reaction to what's going on or what happened.
Yeah. Just keep it respectful, please. 'Cause I was actually with Rashad for the Knicks game. He was turning up.
All right, I might try to get both of them on at the same time. We want to hear from you, Knicks fans.
Definitely, Tony. If you're listening and you want to tune in,
yeah, Tony too.
Uncle Tony, you want to tune in, you can do that as well.
Someone said, "Oh, Tony said what's up." Oh yeah, Tony. Yeah, Tony. Yeah. He said, I think he said, "What's up?" I'm here. You can come on next week.
All right, cool. My little brother filling in for me, man. How about it?
all Knicks talk. So we gonna figure something out for y'all next week.
Definitely. Thank you guys for tuning in, and enjoy the games tonight. We'll see you guys next week.